And I'm pleased to say that joining me live here at the Historic Dockyard in Chatham is Rehman Chishti, the MP for Gillingham and Rainham. Thank you for turning up on a rather chilly day.
Oh, it's great to be here.
Appreciate that. Yeah. And how are you feeling?
Well, I think it's absolutely amazing to be here. Certainly, as you said earlier, at the Historic Dockyard. You know, on the one side you've got HMS Cavalier, you've got the HMS Ocelot, and you've got Gannet. And to be standing here and reflecting on what's been a very difficult year for all, a very challenging year. We've lost a lot of people, loved ones in that period, but now we're slowly seeing measures coming in to get back to some sense of normality, to be standing here today where you reflect on the difficult, challenging year, but also you look forward with great hope and opportunity. And that's why I think it's the way things are going with people now getting back their freedoms, because this is what it's about. So to go out there, see your loved ones and hug your family if you want to, and I'll be hugging my little nephew who I haven't hugged for a very long time. So I think a sense of normality, having their freedoms back, I think it's this is an absolutely momentous occasion for all of us.
It is. And actually, as you were speaking then, I was thinking, you kind of alluding to the resilience that the people of Kent and of course globally have had to show, but what better place to mark that? Because this dockyard has seen war, it's seen turmoil, it's seen conflict, it's seen other pandemics for sure, and yet here it is still standing proud.
Well, I think and that's if you talk about resilience and you talk about where you can get inspiration. And standing here for over 400 years, you tell me any other part of the country which has a similar military heritage than the Medway towns, and I would say there's not many others who have that unique aspect of our, whether it's the Royal Engineers down the road who do amazing work, whether it's the Royal Navy here. And we were talking earlier about HMS Victory. Yes. Where was HMS Victory launched from? When I travel around the world and people say, Raymond, Medway, so yes, HMS Victory, Nelson. And so I think with that unique history, and having it here on our doorsteps, and I would say now that we have the Historic Dockyard, which is now open, I know they do amazing work with bringing schools and students, because it's important to learn about your history and your heritage, which is vital. But I think here, the Historic Dockyard, there is something for everyone to do. Whether it's exhibitions, whether it's outdoors, or whether it's our naval history. So I would say to everyone out there, if you want time with your family, quality time, and learn about your history and heritage, and get inspiration and hope, come on down to the Historic Dockyard. Yeah,
and it's important, isn't it? It's important that we don't lose touch with the past, because we need to understand more about it to go forward, don't we?
You're absolutely right, and that's why I wrote a book on Gillingham and Rainham, looking at the last 150 years
I need to read it.
Of people across the board: science, medicine, military, arts, education. They've gone and made their mark around the world, and you're absolutely right. To move forward to the future, you need to know your past and learn from the past and get inspiration from those amazing people who've made it happen for us here today.
And of course, you talk of today, this is still a crucial part of the economy and the tourism industry, isn't it, in this part of Kent? It's vital. It's a sort of part of the lifeblood, really, of the community here.
I think it is. I think, it's for us as a town, and, we're vying now to be the city of culture.
Yes.
And the economy. I think the Historic Dockyard is a key fabric of that, bringing tourism over here. We've got the Rochester Cathedral, we've got the castle, and of course you would expect me to say we have Kent's only football team, the Gills, down the road, who did very well. Didn't quite get into the playoffs, but the top 10 was good. And you've got 4 universities over here. So from a historical aspect, from a academic learning aspect, from business aspect, there is always something to do here in Medway towns, and that's why I think with our future bid for Medway for the City of Culture, we've got a fantastic bid, but at the same time, relating it to events that people can do across the board in Medway, there is so much that people can get out there and do now that we move to the next stage of lockdown roadmap.
Presumably, as the local MP, you're working very hard actually for that bid and making sure that it's as good as it can be.
Well, I think I launched the event in Parliament with the local authority and the key stakeholders. For me, Medway's got a fantastic bid. We've got Coventry. Coventry's got City of Culture, and I wish Coventry every success. But I would say to you, whether it's Coventry or whether it's other parts of the world, country who've had it before, if you compare Medway to a lot of these areas and look at uniqueness and our unique selling point, history, heritage, the academic side, business opportunity, and you've got a amazing local population, who coming together, wanting to put their area on the map. I think Medway has got a fantastic, track record of that historical, cultural, dynamic aspect for it to be given the City of Culture bid.
Indeed, and we talk about pivoting a lot, don't we, in this pandemic, businesses having to pivot, but that's what the dockyards had to do as well, because of course there were 10,000 people working here, when it was operational as a port. It was devastating for the area when it closed, and yet today we've seen how things can turn around, and it is, isn't it, very much part of the regeneration here.
Yeah, it certainly is. And from 1984, when the dockyard went, 10,000 jobs went, and you speak to individuals who were involved at that time, it was tough. But it comes back to the point you made earlier. Medway is a resilient population. You go through difficulty, you go through challenge, and we stand here at the dockyard, people suffered, but they never gave up. And Medway never gives up. And therefore, you then had a vision with those leading it in the local authority. And I pay tribute to Rodney Chambers, who's a former leader of Medway Council, working together, bringing 4 universities here. University of Greenwich, University of Kent, University of Canterbury Christchurch, and then you had University of Creative Arts over here, so that you can reskill your population. And I think it's about skills. And I give you an example. I came to Gillingham at the age of 6, did not speak a word of English from Pakistan. Yeah. But you worked hard, you did the right thing, you had brilliant teachers who made you persevere in life, and then it says that you can be whatever you want to be. So Medway has now created that atmosphere where anyone can go up and achieve what they want to achieve. And linked to that, we've got the old Delphi business in Rainham now looking at hydrogen energy. So therefore, if you're talking about skill sets, if you're looking at moving forward with the economy, we have businesses here who are at the cutting edge of innovation.
And that's going to be key, isn't it, going forward, to say, OK, this is an opportunity, this is a reset moment. All that reserve, all that resilience that you talk about is going to have to be ploughed in spades, isn't it, into, of course, the whole of Kent to go forward and really bounce back, to coin a phrase.
I think it most certainly is. And I think it's absolutely crucial. The government, I give a huge amount of credit to the government with regards to supporting businesses, at that very early stage. So same with the dockyard over here, making sure the dockyard got, I think it's about 300,000 for the Cultural and Arts Council to get funding there from the furlough scheme. However, we now need to move to the next level, because it is going to be tough. But we've got to look at our economy in a slightly different way, doing things in cutting edge, whether it's with energy, whether it's the environment. And I would say here in Medway, we have every opportunity to move forward in that new cutting edge area. And I think that's why the local authority are looking at an economic zone for Medway. And I think that'd be great to create more jobs, skills in the local area. Yeah,
like you say, it is an opportunity. And coming back to here, specifically the dockyard, I guess that has a special place in your heart, because I'm given to understand that you are a reservist as well.
I certainly am a reservist. I think, look, for me, it's in life, it's, I was commissioned in September last year, and it's about serving your country and giving something back. And our armed forces, do an amazing job, whether they're current serving personnel or whether they are, veterans. Every single one of them are the reasons why we're standing here today, because they made our freedom happen over year after year when we went through difficult, challenging times. So great to be here at the Historic Dockyard and speaking to you as the first interview from the Historic Dockyard, because the Historic Dockyard is absolutely amazing, and it stands for, as you said, our freedom, it stands for resilience, it stands for courage, and it stands for hope and opportunity. And what a great place to be standing here on today's day. Yeah,
it's perfect, isn't it? And I suppose we should mention as well, the role that Army have played in the pandemic, the testing, the tracing, the helping with rollouts, the being there. I think it's given a lot of us sort of reassurance to know that they've got the expertise, be it setting up hospitals, be it delivering testing.
I think the key thing on that, I think you hit on it before I just touch on that, I think government can't do everything alone. And I think the volunteers, the public, they were absolutely amazing. Looking out for your neighbour, helping your neighbour, doing the churches, the faith organisation, the voluntary sector were superb. But the armed forces, our armed forces have never let us down. They always come up to the challenge. And in these difficult times, you saw it here in Medway, we had some of the difficult moments.
Yes.
And as a member of Parliament, you're sitting there and it says, the mutant variant is in Kent, near your constituency.
Remember it well. Yeah.
You remember it well. Yeah. And I, to stand there in Parliament, asked the Minister, we need extra resource. And then we had the Army come in and support us. So the Army, the Royal Engineers, I pay tribute to the Royal Engineers. They are amazing, but Army across the board, and what they did to make sure that we did the things that we needed to do to get the testing out there, to make sure that we looked at it in a strategic mapping kind of direction where we needed to put the resource. The Armed Forces has been absolutely superb.
And did you like the way that we heard a bell just there as if it was agreeing with what you were saying?
I think it was probably, yeah, you know what, I'm a person of faith and divine intervention.
There you go.
You know, here we are. But
we absolutely did. And a final point, but I guess you must have been quite inspired by what you've seen from the people in your constituency over the course of the pandemic. You must have been really heartened by what we've seen here on the Wake Up Call, is people really coming together.
I think it's been absolutely superb. I think the voluntary sector in looking out for one another. Give an example, Street Angels in Gillingham. You know, what they do and how they were inspired by a husband and wife who set up to help the most vulnerable with food, with parcels, with in difficult times. You know, when I see them, you know, I think, you know, I just think these people are angels. You know, and that's the replica across the Medway towns, where you saw one person looking after another, and that community spirit in every way, shape and form is what makes us a great society. And I think these difficult times have also made us come together in more of a stronger way. So I think, look, politicians and government can do some things, but it's the community and it's society, and community and society coming together, working together, were absolutely superb.
And of course, that's what's got us here today on the next step of the roadmap as well, everybody working together.
And it certainly had, but also you need the message to be conveyed to the wider audience, and that's where you need TV, media doing their part. And you guys have been great.
Likewise. Listen, thank you. Great to talk to you, and of course meet you in person. What a treat.
Great.
Great that we can do that. Is Rehman Chishti there, and of course MP for Gillingham and Rainham, with the very latest live here at the Dockyard in Chatham.